This is a recap of Tuesday, October 6th. So the first thing that we did today was called a quick check, and it's kind of a new thing, so I will show you. We haven't done it before. And what we did was clicked right here and took us to a Desmos matching activity. So I'll continue here. So you're going to sign in. So if you missed class, then you should definitely do this activity. So there are 6 problems. I'll move them right here on the screen so you can see them. And there are 6 answers, and I'll move them down towards the bottom of the screen. And notice how that when you put them on top of each other, they stack. So what you're going to do is take the 6 problems and work on the problem. For example, do 13/15 minus 1/4, and then find the answer among these. So if you think that the answer to 13/5 minus 1/4 is 1/2, then you would put that right there. So you're going to end up matching all of these up so they look something like this. And then I will check it tomorrow. And I'll check to see if it's accurate. And I'll let you know. So that's the first thing that we did. Then, based on that activity, some of us worked on classwork. So if you got that correct, then you went and worked on classwork for about 20 minutes. But if you didn't, excuse me, sorry about that. If you needed help, or you needed more notes, more information about adding or subtracting fractions, then you went to this link and took some more notes. And that's about 7 minutes, but maybe you're going to stop a few minutes, so that maybe took about 10 minutes. And then we finished by working on the CAMI week 3, which is what we're going to do right now. Excuse me. Okay, so we did the first part of this, which is to fill in, and we didn't really spend time filling this in, but the target is add and subtract fractions. And this just says that if you don't have a common denominator, if the denominator is not the same, then you need to find a equivalent fraction so that the denominators are the same. And then you add the numerator and put the sum over the common denominator and then simplify it. So I'm going to work through these fairly quickly. You can always stop if you want to. And I'll do a few extra ones that we didn't do in class. If I want to find the least common multiple of 8 and 12, then I can start listing out 8, 16, 24, 32, 12, 24. I stop right there because 24 is in both of the list. So the least common multiple of 8 and 12, the first one that's in both lists is 24. And we did talk about why that is important. If I wanted to add 1/8 plus 1/24, 1/12, then I would think 8 times what is equal to 24, and 12 times what is equal to 24. And that would set us up for success because it's in both of those lists. Now, another thing that we talked about was that sometimes when we have something new that we've learned, it turns into a bit like a hammer and everything looks like a nail. So sometimes we don't have to find a common denominator. It's already given to us. So this is the case right here. So the answer is in tenths, and we just add 1/10 to 7/10, and we get 8/10. So this is the size. The tenth is the size, and the numerator, that's how many we have of that size. If we think of it that way, it simplifies it for us. So then we can also simplify. And And sometimes we get ahead of ourselves, and that's what just happened to me right there. If you notice that I put the answer instead of what I was dividing it, and you think if that has ever happened to you. It was, in my head, I did 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5, but instead, by the time I wrote it down, I wrote 10 divided by 5. And of course, we can't do that because we can't do 8 divided by 5, but we can do 8 divided by 2, which is 4/5. Let's keep going down. So we have to find a common denominator. So let's write the multiples of 3 and the multiples of 4. 3, 6, 9, 12. I know that 12 is in the 4. Let's just double check it. So that's our common denominator. So 2/3. I'm going to figure out what I multiply by 3 to get 12. It turns out to be 4. So I have to multiply 2 times 4. And that's 8/12. I'll do the same thing with 1/4. 4 times something is equal to 12. Turns out to be 3. 1 times 3 is equal to 3. So we do 8/12 minus 3/12. Now we talked about, we know the answer is going to be 12s, but it's confusing the way that's written. It's 8, and then we have to look down here at the minus and look back up here. That is 8 minus 3. And this is kind of confusing because we're not subtracting 12s, but we are subtracting the 8s. And again, if we think of this as the size and this is how many, then that subtraction makes sense. 5/12. And I'll do a couple of these. And whenever you see the T right here, that means that there's going to be a little bit more structure to it, a little bit more help. So this says find the multiples, so it makes little spots for it. So 4, 8, 12, 16. Boy, it's really good to know your multiples. So you can just roll those right off your tongue. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. If you have those memorized, then it's much easier to do. The first one that came up in both of the list is 12. So least common multiple is 12. So the multiples of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Multiples of 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. The first one that I see that's in both the lists, I couldn't even cross them out. Don't see a 3 down there, don't see a 5 up there. There's no 6 and 10. There is no 9 down there. There's no 12 in this one. Oh, there it is, a 15. So 15 is the first number and in both lists. And since 3 and 5 don't share any factors, then we just multiply those together to get that 15. Okay, these will be filled out later in the week. I'll fill this out in the final recap on Thursday. I'll come back and finish the ones that I haven't done. We did a few of these. I'll just do a few today. Again, we don't need to hit this with a hammer. It's not a nail. It's just 1 plus 2 is 3, so that's 3/5. Sometimes we want it to be more difficult, but it's just counting up. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And let's do one more. Maybe I'll come over here. I'll do this one right here, a subtraction problem. So I take 3 from 1, and I have 2. And none of these answers can be simplified. Sorry about the dog barking in the background. And I'm going to do a couple of these. So I'm going to find the least common multiple of 2 and 7. So I can find a common denominator. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 7, 14. So 14 is the first one that came along. We could have saved a little time by noticing that 2 and 7 are both primes, so we can just multiply those together to get 14. So 4/7 times 2 is 14. 4 times 2 is 8. I'm going to go a little faster here. 1/2 times 7 is 14. Times 7 is 7. So 8/14 minus 7/14 is going to be 14ths. 8 minus 7 is 1. And I'll do one more. I'll do this one right here. We did this in all the periods today, I think. 6 and 8. I think I'll do the 8s first. 8, 16, 24. I know 6 goes into 24, so 6, 12, 18, 24. So 24 is going to be our common denominator. So I'll do 7/8. 8 times what is equal to 24? 8 times 3. So I do 7 times 3. And 5/6. 6 times what is equal to 24? 6 times 4. So we're going to do 5 times 4 and get 20. So we'll rewrite this as 21/24 minus 20, almost all of them, 24s, just leaving 1. So if I have 21 of something, I really think of this as something, a thing that has a certain size. And they're all the same size, and there's 21 of them, and I take 20 away, I end up with 1 of them. It's really good to think of fractions as something. Even though it would be hard to draw it and split it into 24 parts, it still would be possible. And that's as far as we got today. We're going to go into a new target tomorrow and start talking about decimals.